Ever since Minecraft was officially released, mods have been a part of its history. Some, like pistons and horses, have even been added to the base game, and creators of mods like the Aether have since been hired as official developers for Mojang. However, for the majority of Minecraft's original player base, mods were somewhat elusive. They required you to install the content of the mod directly into the game's files. Enter the Tekkit launcher. The Tekkit launcher was, and still is, a separate client for Minecraft that allows users who want to play mods but lack the necessary computer skills to directly install them, an easy way to install not just one mod, but a whole pack of them. With such a simple installation process, the Tekkit launcher's proprietary Modpack, fittingly known as the Tekkit pack, spread amongst players who wanted to play together. This is where our story begins. See, despite the Tekkit pack's immense popularity, it couldn't be played online, as many of the mods were incompatible with the game's server structure at the time. And so, a simplified, multiplayer version of the pack was made, simply titled Tekkit. To most of Minecraft's original player base, this was our introduction to mods, as friends would tell us about servers with various machines and magical abilities. Even though the original Tekkit was widely successful, Tekkit was a completely different animal, to the point where many, myself included, despite some of the lacking features from the original pack, consider Tekkit to be the definitive version of Tekkit. My name is Dark, and today I'll be taking a look at Tekkit, Minecraft's original mod pack. So this installation already has the Sphax texture pack installed. I'm not sure if I put it in a long time ago, or if it comes with the mod or anything, but it's a well-made texture pack, especially for the time. Kinda makes everything look like a comic book. I could do without all of the pentagons though. Light told me to use this seed. I'm not sure why, but it shouldn't hurt to use. Anyways, let's create our world and get started. No matter how simple or convoluted the mod pack, the first thing to do in Minecraft is to tear down a tree with your bare hands. Now, second thing second, get some food. There are a bunch of animals around, so that wasn't very difficult. Unfortunately, most of those animals were sheeps, which don't give meat in version 1.2.5, but I still wasted a few and made a nice comfy bed. With a bit of food and a place to lay my weary head, I dove straight into the mines. Of course, the thing about Minecraft is, whether you find good materials or not, is completely dependent on how the terrain was generated. Strip mining is essentially gambling, and whenever I go to the casino, I count cards. So I created this, the Divining Rod. A magic stick that tells you how much a targeted section of blocks is worth. All of that to say, the green Divining Rod targets like 2 blocks, so it's fucking useless. Anyways, like Captain Nemo would say, just keep digging, and I did! I immediately found an underground ravine and some iron. Ow! Maybe I'm just so excited to be back in Tekkit that I let the shift key slip. I don't really have long to think about it as this gaggle of creepers looks to cook my tenderized flesh. Yeah, pretty embarrassing. I only killed one. Anyways, after lighting the place up, I had a veritable treasure trove ready to be mined and crafted. Once I stripped the ravine of its precious materials, I decided to try and use the useless divining rod, and I actually found some tungsten, which has no actual use. Whatever, man. Even with all of the resources I've gathered, I've found no redstone, which aside from being used in quite literally every machine, it's essential for upgrading the divining rod. Indeed, I'm gonna have to strip mine to find some. Just a few minutes of tunneling later, and I found yet another ravine, and diamonds. So yeah, I actually found diamonds before redstone. So I dug around the diamonds to make sure they wouldn't drop into lava, and wow, there's so much stuff here. Now that I finally have diamonds and some redstone, I can craft the tier 3 covalence dust and divining rod. And a diamond pickaxe. I used up all my diamonds, but such concerns are trivial to a true baller. After spending around half my life digging out some conveniently placed obsidian, I used my magic stick to immediately find more diamonds. Once I shattered my iron pick, I decided I was loaded enough and started nerd piling back topside. Of course, I saw some shiny things on the wall and got distracted, but it's not a problem, I can quit anytime, I swear. Once I was back under the sun's warm rays, I pranced around the base of the volcano, listening to the excellent tunes of C418. Initially, I didn't just want to build my base directly at spawn, but with how sick this volcano is, I don't really have much of a choice, do I? After vomiting all my crap into a chest, I got to work on a basic temporary shelter. Unfortunately, the homeowners association here has banned building with cobblestone, so I had to make some stone bricks first. With a basic shelter now fully set up, it was off to the netherworld. Again, you can't just use cobblestone for the corners of your portal, so I used some bath salts instead. I bid my home in that cool, kinda scary volcano a brief farewell and hopped into the purple squigglies. Nah, just kidding. Who the hell would forget armor before going into the nether? I quickly made an iron breastplate before going back to the portal for real this time. I got a pretty bad spawn, ending up in some kind of cave, but I guess the portal could have spat me out in the middle of a lava ocean or something. It's all about perspective, you know? Anyways, I tunneled out, grabbed some mushrooms, and really contended with my demons upon seeing all of the bright shiny nether ores. Once the winding tunnels ended, I came to a large cavern and immediately nerd piled up to some glowstone. Alright, now I have some glowstone. Time to go home. Except there's more over here, and there's some over there, and I've gotta get this one. Just one more pile of dust. Okay, now that we're back home, I can make the Philosopher's Stone. It has a bunch of cool uses, like turning grass into sand and, well, what's important now is that I can get some of that sticky icky from the resin trees and get started on making machines. The Modpack is called Tekkit after all. The best part about making machines is that you need to build a bunch of different components for even the most basic machine. In Tekkit, the most basic machine is called the macerator. Really though, the macerator is not that complicated. It's just a bit of refined iron, some copper cables, redstone, and garbage that you're likely to throw out of your inventory. Fortunately, I'm terrible at inventory management, so I do have some flint. Now that I have a macerator, I have nothing to power it with, and hardly enough materials to even make a generator. I know I joked about it earlier, but the Philosopher's Stone is actually the key that unlocks the rest of the game. Using the transmutation tablet that I used the stone for, I created more sticky resin and had a generator up and running in no time. Briefly, I considered running this cable from the Ginny to the macerator across the floor like some Neanderthal, but once you're a grown-ass man, you've just gotta bury your cables. With all this housekeeping out of the way, I lit up the Ginny and set some iron to furiously macerate while I sit and watch in the corner. After the macerator spat out a bunch of white stuff, I hooked up an electric furnace and began the long refinement process. In the meantime, I looked through the extensive not enough items list to determine which block I wanted to build my house out of. Compared to modern modpacks, or hell, even modern vanilla, there's really not very many decorative blocks in Tekkit. Eventually, I decided to dig up some basalt and just use that for something. First I needed to make it into bricks because honestly, the regular basalt texture is pretty gross looking, and that's saying nothing about the cobbled texture. Could have put it in a furnace like a scrub, but nah. Well everyone, it's time. The most infamous item in all of Tekkit. The one everyone uses and abuses like an old nag. The energy condenser. I was short on diamonds, so for likely the last time, I used the transmutation tablet to turn some red power gems into diamonds. However, even with the condenser, diamonds are still worth 8,192 energy matter units. That's 128 stacks of dirt, half a stack of iron, 8 red power gems, or 2 uranium. Most people would just convert all their nicolite or uranium into diamonds, but I'm not most people, so I went back to the mines. There's this little crevice outside of my temporary base. I think I might convert it into a basement or something. For now I'll just use it as a mine. I went down and dug and dug and dug and dug and found another ravine. It was full of lava though, so it would be incredibly embarrassing to burn to death, so I just decided to mine somewhere else that wasn't a massive death trap. I soon found a less dangerous cave, and I guess I dug it out. See, once I get to the mines, away from the sun, and I see all those shiny ores, I start to... Anyways, using my magical stick, I started strip mining like I originally intended. After only like 5 minutes of mining, I had a bunch of ore and crap, so I left the mine. 2 skeletons tried to ambush me, but it was an ambush for them. Now that I had a bunch more crap, I made an alchemical chest to store said crap, and by god, once I get all these ores macerated and cooked up, I'll be frickin' loaded. Before I can do that though, I need a better source of power. Sure, the coal generator's working just fine, but every time I take a deep breath, I see these weird like goblin things that tell me to throw all my diamonds into the volcano. For now, I'll ignore them and condense some bread. Ugh, tastes kinda stale. But what was I saying? Right, the volcano, geothermal power. That's a really good idea. Making a geothermal generator isn't too hard, but first I need some waterproof transport pipes. For those, you need cactus colored dye. Yeah, I don't know why either. So I ran off into the jungle, hoping to find a desert, grab some cactus, toss it in the condenser, and drain a volcano. Surely that shouldn't take so long. I'm really starting to lose it at this point, guys. I'm gonna try and make my own desert and... well, it seems like it works. There's a desert over there. Whatever, I've got my stupid fucking cactus. It's time to go home. After creating a bunch more cactus green in the condenser, I made the pipes, a pump, some engines, then dug out my basement so I could put the geothermal generators in a place that wasn't my living room slash bedroom slash kitchen. So, after careful consideration, I've decided to make this temporary base permanent. I think I'll make it like a suburban house or something, with a basement and a garage. It'll be really cool. Also, I've changed my skin. The other felt a bit too much like endgame armor already, so I went for a more casual look with a regular shirt and my blue Jordans. Right, so, geothermal power. It's really simple if you don't get distracted every 5 seconds. Honestly though, this is the first time I've seen a volcano in Tekkit that isn't just a pathetic little dribble of lava from a bath salt wellspring. Anyways, just set up the pump above the lava well, run some pipes back to a tank. Let me clear out these mobs first, sleep. I guess then fix up the basement too. Ah, Christ, my pickaxe is busted. Fortunately, I can make a talisman of repair. All I've got to do is get paper, string, and there we go. Now I've just got to wait 925 seconds. Now forget it, I'll just make a drill. Add some diamonds. Now charge it in the generator. Right, good. What was I doing? Making an extractor? Yeah, that's right. Alright. Joke's over. Time to actually make the geothermal generator. Or two. Hell yeah, I'll be swimming in electricity in my rubber trunks. As such, I may as well skip making a regular Tier 1 bat box and go straight to Tier 3. Advanced alloy, carbon plate. Tier 2. Tier 2 energy storage. The MFE, it isn't really all that expensive if you've been mining for longer than 5 minutes. Now, time to place the lava storage and geothermal generators. Well, that doesn't quite look right. Unfortunately, to move the generators, I'd need a wrench so they don't revert back into machine blocks, so for now I'll just have to get an electric wrench. Even the regular wrench has a chance to revert completed machines back into simple machine blocks, but the electric wrench will always drop the machine properly. Alright, let's turn this into something that isn't an eyesore. Bastard skeleton. That looks pretty good, but looks don't generate power, and they certainly don't transfer it. That's why I've made these glass fiber cables. Not only do they look good, but they're by far the best cables in the game. Plug them into the MFE and immediately plug the MFE into a low voltage transformer. Without the transformer, I'd have to remake all the machines from scratch. Now that's some mighty fine work if I do say so myself. Alright, it's lava time. No, not like that. Well, surely I won't burn for 5 hearts. Dear Mother of God. And great. Looks like my wrench and drill got burned up. At least I've got my Philosopher's Stone. Whatever, I'll just get the lava flowing and worry about all this later. Unfortunately, I've only got 3 torches. If only there were a way to have one torch power multiple engines. On the way back down, I did actually find my wrench and some other crap, but it does seem like my drill was actually sacrificed to the carbon monoxide goblins. After a bit of fiddling with the transformer and MFE, everything was plugged in correctly, and my ears were soon serenaded by the soothing sounds of the macerator. Now that I've got power generation sorted for the time being, it's time to start putting together some new cool machines. First up is called a quarry. Nah, just kidding, gotta get some glowstone first. Ooh, look! A fortress! Oh hell yeah! Look at these lava pipes, they look amazing! Diamond time! And now, I present to you, the pièce de résistance. A bunch of gears and a pickaxe. Bingo bingo bongo, we've got ourselves a quarry. Now an alchemical chest for storage, and one for something else later. Ooh. Normally, I would use a coal-powered buildcraft engine to power the quarry, but now that we've got all this lava power coming through, it'd be a massive shame not to use it. It's relatively simple to build the energy link, which will convert our industrial craft lava power into buildcraft power. All you're gonna need is one more machine, the compressor. With the compressor, you compress a mixture of refined iron, bronze, which we have left over from the wrenches, and tin into an advanced alloy. But first, gotta get all that lava. Alright, we've got the advanced alloy, got the energy link, we need some more cables. Guess I'll just put the quarry down in my backyard. Now I've gotta refine the ores and wait for more to come in. In the meantime, I've decided to replace my basement floor and build a proper entrance to the cave portion. Now, let me check what the quarry's dug up. Alright, a bunch of dirt and shit. But wait just 1 minute. These pipes are empty. In the tank there's like 2 blocks of lava? Alright man, this volcano is about to have some serious explaining to do. Aw man, even with the diamond pick, this basalt just takes forever to mine. I can't believe I lost that drill. Well, I guess I better just make another one. Easy peasy. Digging, 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 and drill's dead. After like what, 25 blocks? Whatever, man. Alright, finally. At least there's still some lava down here, so this whole excursion wasn't a massive waste of time. As it turns out, there's just some basalt blocking the lava from being sucked up. That's quite a bit of lava, so the MFE should be full until I can get some renewables up and running. While I've got the time, I'll start building a proper room for all my machines and stuff. In the basement, I want the automatic ore processing facility and power generation, but I also want a room where machines are more accessible for manual use. Alright, I've got the foundation set, and it looks like I've tapped out the volcano. There's plenty of lava in the tank, so we should be set for a while. And the second room's up. I've added a few windows here and there, and the quarry's still going. It's probably getting to some really good stuff by now. Time to move these machines. Luckily, I've got my electric wrench, so none of them should break. Man, what the hell? So as it turns out, you actually have to toggle on lossless wrench mode. Geez, what a pain. At least I just lost the macerator and not something really complex. Now that I've got the machines their own room, it's time to get started on all the stuff I'll need for the production line. First being red power pneumatic tubes. I'll need bricks for an alloy furnace, so while all that gets made, I'll do some work on the basement. Bricks are ready. With the alloy furnace done, we can use silver and nicolite to make blue alloy ingots. Nicolite's an interesting material. It's like redstone, but it's blue. The name though, Nicolite. I wondered if the stuff's named after Nikola Tesla, or perhaps the creator of the mod is called Nikola, or maybe he just really likes Serbia or something, I don't know. Whatever, blue alloy is done, time to make red. And would you look at that, the quarry's all tapped out. Now that I've got all this crap, I really do need to make an alchemical bag. I'll make it black. Fantastic. Now I can keep my wires and pipes without really worrying about them taking too many slots of my inventory. Speaking of crap, I've got all this dirt from the quarry and nothing to do with it. I could throw it in the energy condenser, but like I said before, it's 128 stacks of dirt or cobblestone to make just one single diamond. It's better off being recycled into scrap, which we'll use later to make some really cool stuff. Somehow, and definitely not because I turned it all into diamonds during a manic episode, I ran out of glowstone. So it was time to go back to the nether. I went the other direction this time, wasted gas, and got some glowstone. On my way back to the portal though, I had a really good idea. What if I used my philosopher's stone to transmute a pig zombie into a blaze? I'll need a lot of blaze rods eventually, and the fortress is in the other direction, so might as well try this. Alas, after torturing this poor creature until it was turned into a burning spirit, I was rewarded with nothing. Oh well. Once I got home, I made a recycler and hooked it up near to where the quarry will pipe in materials. Theoretically, I could just use Buildcraft pipes to direct all the quarry's garbage into the recycler, but that would lead to the recycler overflowing, and with how much dirt and cobble the quarry produces, it's probably better just to use the red power pipes which can't overflow. To create these pipes, I'll need to make brass in the alloy furnace by combining copper and tin? Yeah, okay, I guess. For now, I'll use an iron chest to store scrap, and since they're more compact, I will actually use Buildcraft pipes to pipe out of the recycler. For the input, I'll need a transposer, a bunch of pneumatic tubes, and a redstone timer. Making all the timers, sequencers, and whatnot from red power, it's all a bit of a pain. You have to make all sorts of anodes and cathodes and wafers. They're all pretty much worth it though. And there we go. I'll just hook up the alchemical chest to the quarry's garbage output, and we'll make hella scrap in no time. Of course, I'd hate to accidentally recycle something valuable into scrap, so I'll need a rudimentary sorting system, for which I need a diamond pipe. So, after finding a suitable spot for my quarry to continue digging, I'll set up a basic filter for recyclable items. Garbage to the right, good stuff to the left. Now, I've just gotta plug the quarry back in, and as long as it has power, I'll be filthy rich in no time. With how big the volcano is, I should have plenty of power for the foreseeable future. Let me just check on it real quick. Oh. Useless ass volcano. There's no way it's already all gone. What? Where did it all go? See, my friend, this is why you truly can't rely on volcanoes for things like electricity. To truly embrace renewable, green energy, you must first throw all your coal into the macerator, and then automate the entire process, as is tradition. Now that I have a bunch of crushed up coal, I can combine it with some circuits, glass, and some regular schmegular generators to create 8 basic solar panels. Then you just wrap these puppies around a low voltage transformer and voila! Low voltage solar array. Now, I've just gotta plug it in. You know, in hindsight, we probably could have stored the batteries upstairs. And we have power! Even with the solar array, I'm still only just in the green, power-wise. So I'll have to employ my second favorite type of renewable energy, wind power. Wind turbines are just basic generators with some iron slapped on the side, so I went ahead and made 6. Of course, to actually send power back, the turbines need to be plugged in, and the best choice would be fiber optic cable, but I'm a little short on cash at the moment, and the turbines need to be really high, like Snoop Dogg high. Fortunately, the wind turbines are weak and don't generate much voltage, so I can use ultra low current cable, which only requires 10. Equipped with 100 or so low current cables, I started climbing into the sky. Using my dirt scaffolding, I'm constructing what I can only really think of as like a janky windmill Christmas tree. It's quite an eyesore, and the homeowners association will probably be on my ass about it next week, but now I'm raking in tons of power. I slapped together this EU reader to see what the deal was, and 0. These windmills, which completely ruin my house's value, are producing no power. This can't be right. It's gotta be plugged in wrong. And 0. So I built back up to the sky, fiddled around a bit, and still nothing. At this point, I probably had enough coal to make some more solar panels, so you know what I'm gonna do? Climb back up the jank mist tree and put the windmills higher. However, after breaking just one wind turbine, my wrench was completely drained. I placed another turbine higher, hoping it wouldn't take literal eons to recharge my wrench, but no such luck, so I decided fuck it. I disabled lossless mode and decided I'd roll the dice. If the wrench does break them, they'll only turn into regular generators. Speaking of which, I'll just have to live with the carbon monoxide poisoning. As much as I want renewable energy, it's just not feasible right now. I'll have to fire up the lava generators again. I'll quickly make some tin storage cells and grab some lava from the nether. The quarry should be good for the foreseeable future, but I still need resources, and I need them now. Fortunately, I've got just the Tekkit, a destruction catalyst. The destruction catalyst will only cost you 2 stacks of coal, 4 TNT, and 1 flint and steel. When you talk bang for your buck, this is one of the best investments you can ever make. Of course, you'll need alchemical fuel to power the catalyst, but a few stacks of glowstone dust is more than plenty. Now grab your divining rod, set it to max, and run off to the mines. Knock the divining rod against the wall until you find something good, charge up your catalyst, blammo, you'll be rich in no time. When digging out these giant areas with the destruction catalyst, I always recommend putting your torches to just one side. Personally, I chose the left, but it doesn't really matter. That way you can follow the side with the torches so you always know where the exit is. I always sleep great after a long night of mining. Quite the haul as well. Tungsten is useless, so I'll just go ahead and turn it into diamonds. For the rest of this stuff, I'll have to process it all manually for now. Very soon, however, I'll have an entire room that will do all of that automatically. Not only will it auto-process everything I mine, but also everything mined by the quarry. First I'll need to get the power situation reined in, and... Whoa, nah, who unplugged that? I definitely plugged it in. Ah jeez, must have been the gremlins. It's not like it really makes much difference anyway. With that sorted, let's expand the basement. God, I just love the sound of that constant ticking from the timers. Tick, 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 tick. I'm gonna hear this in my dreams, man. Whatever. The first machine I need for this ore processing room is the red power sorting machine. To make one, I need to alloy coal and sand together, then cut the silicon boil into wafers, which you then dope with redstone. To use the sorting machine effectively, I'll need different colored dyes to paint the pipes. Red for iron, yellow for gold, indigo for tin, orange for copper, and white for silver. I'll need paint brushes and paint cans, which you need to combine iron and tin for. I need flax seeds for paint? Jeez, I know Red Power has a bunch of silly recipes, like tin and copper making brass, but this one is particularly stupid. Doesn't matter, I needed to trim the lawn anyways. Red paint, yellow paint. I feel kinda bad for not making any green paint, blue paint, orange paint, white paint. Now you dip each individual brush into the paint. The paint can takes about 5% damage per dip, and the brushes themselves also have durability, so like, I genuinely wonder if anyone's managed to break an entire can before. And if they have, why didn't they just put them with the Talisman of Repair? Truly magical stuff here, guys. Right, sorting machine. I've got my red dope and my blue alloy, put them together, sorting machine. Now plug in your buffer chest and make sure your sorting machine is facing the right direction. Now plug in your pneumatic tubes, then paint each tube. In the sorting machine menu, set each of the colors to one ore. Even with all this set up, the sorting machine unfortunately does not run for free. We're going to need bluetricity, for which we need blue doped solar panels and blue alloy wire. Of course, the sorting machine needs to be able to work at night too, so you'll need a battery box to store whatever excess bluetricity the solar panels generate. For a battery box, you'll need 4 of these battery cells and some blue alloy. I should have some cooking up in the furnace. I'm not very smart, am I? And bingo, we've got power. Well, a little bit. We're gonna need some more solar panels. Now it's time for the real meat and potatoes of the ore processing room, the macerators. The reason I need the sorting system in the first place is because the ore processing room will have 5 different macerators, one for each ore. And also 5 electric furnaces to turn that dust into ingots. So I might have underestimated just how much space this whole thing would take up. Just have to do a bit of digging. Alright, sorting to processing is ready to go. Just put all the ores in, and I've completely ballsed this up. The input slot is the top of these machines, the output is the sides. Since the Modpack is so old, there's really no way to change that either. Oh well. Alright, for real this time. Ore processing is go! Aw man, look at that. I could watch this for days. I have no such luxury, however, as I need to get the output going for these macerators so they don't fill up. And would you look at that? I made the same exact mistake as I did 5 seconds ago. Go figure. For the finishing touches, I'll add some iron pipes to make everything a bit more compact. And for some reason now, the sorting machine stopped outputting ore. I fiddled with the settings a bit until it started working again. And I'm not really sure what any of the settings really do, but I bet they do mean something. Now I've just gotta pipe my fat stacks back to the alchemical chest in the front room, and I'll never have to worry about needing metal ever again. It's a bit of a tight squeeze, but nothing that can't be solved with a couple of iron pipes. And perfecto. Man, isn't watching this stuff just the best? See? Even the Senderman agrees. At this point, new ores were being piped in, and the sorting machine wasn't sorting them. So rather than just messing around with the settings and praying, I actually tried to figure out how it worked. This colored checkerboard thing seemed to work, but for some reason, it was just very spotty. Really though, this is starting to drive me crazy. I messed around with the settings a bit, not long enough to figure out what any of these things actually did, mind you, but I did get the sorting machine working. Once I was done beating my brain to a pulp with a wrench, I decided to go kill these annoying spiders. First, I need some armor though. It's not like I'm scared or anything, I just hate for the spider to tear up my pants. I have plenty of coal dust as well, so it would just straight up be negligent not to make armor. And just like that, we've got half a stack of raw carbon mesh, which we then compress into nano machine plates. Ah, fuck it, I can't be bothered to wait. Now that I have the entire ore processing facility built, I actually need ore for it to process. The default area that the quarry digs out just isn't going to cut it anymore. Thankfully there is a simple way to expand it. Just slap some lapis on a redstone torch. Plunk these bad boys down at the corners where you want to dig, make sure they're all the same height, and place the quarry at the corner, and you're in business. Be sure to connect the top of the quarry to your pipe system, or else an entire chunk's worth of items will just end up laying on your yard. I'd recommend adding some gold transport pipes as well, so you can speed the process along. The gold pipes are really fun too, stuff just zips by like whee! While I was mesmerized by the pipes, the carbon fiber plates finished compressing. All you need to do is craft these in the typical armor pattern with the energy crystal slapped inside, and I might as well make a nano saber while I'm at it. Of course, nano machines can't protect you without electricity. It's like waiting to open your presents on Christmas down here, except instead of chestnuts roasting, it's metal that gives you a nasty headache. Oh hell yeah, look at that, so cool. Just ignore that it kinda looks like off-brand Power Rangers. The Nano Saber is great because it'll one-shot zombies and skeletons with a critical hit, and it'll always one-shot creepers. The Nano Armor will no-sell a creeper blast at point-blank range. It won't, however, prevent creepers from griefing, so I still wouldn't recommend getting hit. But for the most part, you'll be completely invulnerable to most forms of damage. Even drowning for a while only does around the heart. Just make sure the suit doesn't completely run out of power, and you'll be fine. Now that I've got this great armor and a great weapon, it's time to really break this thing open. The primary item we're gonna need is a blaze rod, and I know just the place to find them. $11 should be enough. Or 12? Jeez man, look at this place. Even compared to vanilla now, it just looks so barren. There's no drop bears or mosquitoes or hellcats or anything either. This game's really come a long way. When this mod pack first came out, I was enamored by just the nether ores. Right, now for the blaze machine. It's a macerator with red power tubes for the input so it doesn't overflow of course, and the tube connects to a transposer and alchemical chest. Now, let's get these macerating. Next you'll need basic wooden transport pipes, which will send the 5 macerated blaze powder into the condenser. In the condenser, in the top slot, you put a whole blaze rod, and sharp eyes may have noticed that every blaze powder is worth half a blaze rod in EMC. What you need next is one of these, a distribution transport pipe. This lets you control the number of blaze rods that are sent back to the macerator to be duplicated and the number of blaze rods which are sent to the second condenser. For now I'll just send them all back to the macerator so I can build up a giant supply. Don't forget the timer by the transposer. Make sure your transposer is facing the right direction. Plop your condenser down and set the ratio, put your diamond in the top slot, and after maybe just a bit of fiddling, you'll have yourself an infinite diamond generator. But whatever you do, don't tell the IRS. Ain't it beautiful? Unfortunately, the macerator takes around 20 seconds to fully grind up just one blaze rod. To remedy that, we'll make a much more simple contraption. Like with most of these machines, the first thing to do is attach a chest to a transposer. Now run a wire over, and plug in an extractor. Then attach your pipes. The most important thing about this setup, however, is that you have an output. The items we're making in the extractor don't stack, so without an automatic output, you'd have to take each one out by hand, and we're going to be making a lot of these. And there we go. Set the timer to about 22 seconds. Now grab some tin and make some storage cells. Fill them up with water, a whole bunch of them so you never have to get any more. And because of how water works in this version of Minecraft, instead of horsing around in the river for all of eternity, use an infinite water source. You'll save a lot of time. Pop those boys into the input chest, and just a bit later, we've got tons of coolant cells. Now coolant cells are one of the most useful items in this mod pack. Not only will they allow us to create overclocker upgrades to speed up the macerators and furnaces, but they'll also pave the way to effectively infinite power. Making these overclockers is pretty simple. The trouble comes from the fact that you will need a lot of them. But for now 3 will do. And damn man, look at that. It's so much faster now. Unfortunately, these overclockers suck a lot of juice, so before we can make more, we'll have to install another solar array. Bam! That's basically 2 times electricity now. In turn, I should double our storage capacity too, and create another MFE. There's not a ton of room here. I guess I'll just place it right beside the other one. Kinda like a double cell battery. Damn, this chest is cold. I'll make so many of these things your head would spin. Or maybe it's just from inhaling coolant. I'll drop one into the blaze machine, and I'll put the rest into the rubber extractor so I can make more wires to make more overclockers. It's a vicious cycle. More wires means more overclockers. More overclockers means more solar panels. More solar panels means more production faster. Faster production means more machines. More machines need more power, which makes production faster. Man, I really do love Tekkit. Anyways, because these coolant cells don't stack, it would be great if I could make a crafting table that's combined with a chest. And what do you know? That's exactly what the project table is. With the project table, you can actually shift click to craft using whatever items are in the project table's inventory. And that's 21 overclockers. You can use about 6 in a single machine before things start to get a bit dicey regarding voltages and whatnot. Of this batch, I'll put 6 in the coal macerator, 2 in the blaze macerator. Be sure your timers are set at 3 seconds for these. 3 in the rubber extractor, 6 in the recycler, and split the last 4 between the upstairs furnace and macerator. And I don't even need to check to know that I'm hemorrhaging power now. In short, I've got to give in to the vicious cycle. That sound you hear, by the way, is the mind-rending sound of every machine starting and stopping over and over and over and over again. And look at that, I'm still being bled dry. Considering I would literally rather tear out every single one of my hairs individually than listen to that goddamn sound for another second, I went and got some more lava. Silence. Thank God. Ah, jeez, not again. Alright kids, place your bets. Will I go insane before I finish crafting enough solar panels? Well, at least the quarry's still running. Thankfully, it's mostly silent as well. Okay, time to go back, plug my ears and sing la 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 la. I don't believe it. Finally, I can read a book or meditate or put some resin in the extractor. So I blacked out and made 2 more low voltage solar arrays, and by the graces of gods, it's enough electricity to keep everything from turning off every 5 seconds. And since I would rather give myself open heart surgery with a rusty can opener than listen to that sound ever again, I decided to just make an assload more solar panels. How about 40? That's enough for 5 low voltage arrays. No, I need more. Many, many more. Shut up, 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 shut up. There, 72. Now to combine an entire stack into a medium voltage solar array. If this doesn't shut them up, I'll actually nuke the house. Ah, it's a miracle. Praise the sun. Damn, man, with all this peace and quiet, I really don't know what to do with myself. This must be how Plato felt when he left that cave. It's like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders, like my ears are clean and my clothes are all perfectly ironed. I feel like if I just jump into the air, I would float away. Well, would you look at that? Making this ring is criminally easy compared to even the most basic solar panel. You just need to combine a bunch of coal, and do it again with the alchemical coal, and the same with the Mobius fuel, and that gives you Aeternalis fuel, which is equivalent to 1 diamond. Slap 8 of those Aeternalis fuel around a block of diamond, and you have yourself the primary component of our universe, dark matter. In theory, dark matter should be incredibly difficult to produce, but the Blaze machine is just too good. Next, melt some iron together into a ring, put your feathers and dark matter in, make sure it's the right way of course, and you've got yourself a Swift Wolf's Rending Gale. I have no idea who Swift Wolf is, and a Rending Gale just sounds like a weapon, like a sword or something, more than it does a ring which allows flight. But you know, beggars, choosers, whatever. It does have this cool force push thing though. With the power situation fixed, the machines no longer make that ungodly noise every 5 seconds, but there's still that damn ticking of the redstone timers. Basically, I'm sick of hearing that. I'm supposed to be living in a nice home, not a clock factory. I'll make a breaker room beneath the basement and wire the timer pulses back up. Not only will that save my sanity, it'll save me from making a timer for every sorting machine or transposer I put down in the future. It's gonna be pretty tedious to lead these wires back to the perfectly correct places. That's a small price to pay for peace of mind.
Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck one, the mouse ran down. Hickory dickory dock, tick tock, tick tock. Hickory dickory dock, the bird looked at the clock. The clock struck two, away she flew. Hickory dickory dock, tick tock, tick tock. Hickory dickory dock, the dog barked at the clock. The clock struck three, fiddly-dee. Hickory dickory dock, tick tock, tick tock. Hickory dickory dock, the bear sat by the clock. The clock struck four, he ran out the door. Hickory dickory dock, tick tock, tick tock. Hickory dickory dock, the bee buzzed round the clock. The clock struck five, she went to her hive. Hickory dickory dock.
Do you hear that? Me neither. It'll be my first good night's sleep in months. In celebration, I think I'll return to where it all started, the volcano. I can just jump down and fly out now. I've come a really long way. Even putting up the wind turbines would be super trivial now, so I guess I'll just put them up super high. And they still don't generate shit for power. Even at max height, even with 6 running at max efficiency, it still won't generate even one single electrical unit per tick. Whatever, man. It's not like I'm mad or anything. With my newfound power at flight, I put some slabs on the roof to keep mobs off, cut some wood into fourths, and built a small little overhang. I want to expand the house soon, create a second floor for storage, and maybe a garage with like a working remote controlled door. Before we can do that though, I'll need tools. The electric diamond drill has served me well, but quite frankly, I'm sick of needing to recharge it after about every 100 blocks. So I'll make this red matter pickaxe. First I'll need the dark matter pickaxe. I could just use this, but red matter is like a dark matter hot dog with an Aeternalis bun, and it's a whole lot better than dark matter, but it only requires 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly, dark matter to create 1 red matter. With all of the diamonds the blaze machine is printing, I can spare a bit of EMC for a more premium experience. Oh yeah, I'll tell you firsthand, this pickaxe is great. Like with every item from this mod, press V to charge it up. Press C to change mode, and look at that, this thing just melts through stone. If you right click, you'll mine the entire ore vein, and just like with the destruction catalyst, it'll drop your items in this little black ball so that your game doesn't chug to hell whenever you mine a bunch of crap. I mean, look at that. I was only mining for like 5 minutes and I've already got a metric buttload of materials. Using the red matter pickaxe in combo with the destruction catalyst is probably more effective than a quarry, but it's just not automatic. Alright, now that I've got my tool, it's time to start fixing this place up. The basement has come a long way, but it's still got dirt walls, which aren't the safest for an underground refinery. I mean, what if groundwater dripped through and got in the macerators? It'd be a huge mess, and I really wouldn't want to pay for that, so I'll seal this biddy up with some concrete. A normal crafting table won't do for making the rebar you need for concrete. Instead, you need a rolling machine. Now watch carefully, as this is the only machine I'm gonna make from Railcraft. Blango! That's a lot of concrete. Could always do with more though. Alright, I think 16 stacks is more than enough. And that's all the difficult parts done. Man, I really am pleased with how this all looks. Ah, what a lovely day. The sun is out, the birds are chirping. It's a perfect day to put the finishing touches on my fresh, refurbished basement. Isn't she beautiful? Reminds me of a star in the night sky. Speaking of which, Klein stars. Earlier when I made the flying ring, I neglected to mention that the power of flight wasn't free. It is cheap though, it only uses one glowstone dust for 36 seconds of flight, but who wants to carry around a bunch of glowstone? That's sure to light up your pockets. Anyways, Klein stars are fairly easy to make. It's just Mobius fuel around a diamond, and once you have one, you can just make a bunch more in the transmutation table. For most purposes, a Klein star veer should suffice. You'll have to burn a bunch of diamonds to get it to full power though. This one contains 2,744,320 EMC. So if I wanted to drain the entire Klein star, I'd have to fly for 143 hours. I really like Tekkit, but that's not happening. Speaking of things that take forever, who wants to build more solar panels? That should be more than enough for a fully overclocked facility. Each medium voltage solar array provides 64 electrical units per tick, so I could do a bunch of math here to determine the exact number of overclockers I can support, but that'd be awfully boring. Might as well wing it. With energy production sorted, let's build the rest of the house. I'm no home designer, but I'd say that looks pretty damn good. Let me just add some stairs, and perfect. Like I said before, I plan to make this new area into a storage room, mainly to store crap that comes in through the quarry that I don't immediately need. With each of the 8 chests holding a different type of item, they shouldn't ever fill up. Because we'll need a separate sorting machine for the storage room, I added a few more red power solar panels to the roof and measured their output with this voltmeter. I don't have a damn clue of what any of this means. Next I adjusted the diamond pipe for basic sorting. Ores to the facility, crap to the recycler, and everything else to deep storage. Included in this sorting facility, I'd put a compressor. For what, you may ask, but a magician must never reveal his secrets. Now I'll craft a bunch of overclockers. I just need about 16 more to fully max everything out. The quarry finished, so I put it down to cover an even bigger area this time. Hopefully it'll all sort out properly. So, what's next for our semi-legal underground mining operation? I hinted at it earlier, but it involves the compressor. Creating matter out of electricity. Well, some would say it's impossible. Others, that it's dangerous. However, most would likely tell me that it's not worth it because I already have a machine that creates matter out of a small oversight in Modpack balancing. To all of my naysayers, I don't care. Having solar panels power my house and totally legal mining operation is cool and all, but ever since I was a young boy, I've wanted to build a nuclear reactor in my basement. I've held off until now because it would be just a bit excessive to use a nuclear reactor for anything other than mass fabrication. Anyways, remember all that crap I put in the recycler? This is what it's all turned into. Using these scraps, I can cut down the energy cost of mass fabrication by 83%-ish. I'm getting ahead of myself though. First, I need to make sure my nuclear reactor is safe and, more importantly, untraceable to the feds. To that end, I'll make a shitload of advanced alloy to protect the reactor from extreme heat. Let's just speed this along a little. And make sure we have a proper battery for the reactor. A multifunction storage unit, or MFSU. It should be able to store any excess energy the reactor produces. This bad boy can hold 10 million electrical units. The nuclear reactor requires a lot of different components and most of them don't stack, so I'd recommend making an entirely new alchemical bag for them. Case in point, these integrated reactor plates. You'll just need an absolute ton of them, not only to build the reactor, but to make the cooling cells as well. So just slap a bunch of these together in your project table, and I ended up making 31. Of course, I made a ton more advanced alloy than I actually needed for these plates. That's because, in the very unlikely event that my reactor melts down, I'll need a way to prevent the blast from completely destroying my house. In short, I need several stacks of reinforced blast-resistant stone. That is a lot. Regardless, I'll still build the reactor away from most of the main machines so that a meltdown wouldn't be too devastating. I'll need to refill all of this with dirt so I can keep everything hidden. And that should suffice. Now, the reactors aren't actually this big in the mod pack. Most of that space is going to be filled with reinforced stone. How much reinforced stone? To determine that, we'll need a few of these bad boys. And yeah, that's it. That's the crafting recipe for a nuclear bomb. A bit of gunpowder and some refined uranium. That's so unrealistic. What you really have to do is take fluoric acid and... Alright, let's set this puppy off. Gee, it sure takes a while to blow. And that's quite a large blast. I'm not sure my house insurance would cover it. Fingers crossed, this will tank the nuclear blast completely. And lo and behold, I think it might have actually worked. So yeah, on the inside it's vaporized about one layer of reinforced stone, but other than that, the containment unit worked perfectly. That's 8 stacks of reinforced stone down, and I'm only gonna make the bag 2 blocks thick as well. And they'll put down 2 reinforced doors. I'm not sure they'll completely tank the blast like the rest, but it'll have to do. And there we have it, a completely blast resistant little box to store my unregulated nuclear reactor. Let's get crafting. Inside of the reactor, we'll need to put a bunch of these integrated heat dispersers. In the end, you'll need 8 of these to craft a complete reactor, and 14 to put inside of the reactor itself. In total, that's 22 integrated heat dispersers. So don't forget to make enough of the regular integrated reactor plates. You won't actually need to put any into the reactor itself, so you can use them all up while you're crafting. The actual nuclear reactor block requires 2 reactor chambers to build, so you'll need 8 reactor chambers in total, not just 6. And there we go. Now, optionally, you can add a thermal monitor to, well, monitor the reactor's temperature. If the monitor reaches the specified temperature, it'll output a redstone signal, which can be used to switch the reactor off. I'd also recommend one of these howl alarms to let you know whenever the thermal monitor is activated. Make sure the range is set to max so you can annoy everyone on your server, and I prefer the sci-fi alarm sound. Ha, how glorious. Make a vanilla redstone repeater and put it in a basic circuit like this so that your reactor won't constantly switch on and off whenever it's hovering around the target temperature. You'll need a block to place the reactor on first because the chamber won't place unless the reactor block is down. And there we go, our very own nuclear reactor. Slap on your thermal monitor, make sure the redstone actually wires into the reactor, maybe give it a test, throw down and configure your alarm, and there you go! Now, it may be really tempting just to throw in a ton of uranium cells and see what happens, but that would almost certainly result in an actual test of our blast-proof room. It would also be incredibly wasteful as the reactor isn't yet connected to any sort of power storage. Also, the reactor outputs power at such a high voltage that we can't just use the normal glass fiber cables. We'll need to use 4 times insulated high voltage cables, which are just refined iron coated in a bunch of rubber. You'll only need a couple of these. Even 20 is far too many. For every block these cables travel, you lose around 1 electrical unit, so they're incredibly inefficient. As such, you want to connect these high voltage cables to a high voltage transformer as soon as possible. You must use one of these transformers if you don't want to destroy your entire base. Now let's build the mass fabricator. Compared to the reactor, it's much more simple. You just need a few advanced circuits and machine blocks, and there you go. Consider adding some extra reinforcements around the output tube. Place down your transformer and make sure you have the input facing the right way. Remember, transformers have 5 outputs and only 1 input. Now cable it to your reactor. Just outside the reactor room, put down your MFSU. These are the opposite of transformers. They have 5 inputs and only 1 output. Wire it up. Wire in your mass fabricator, put in some scrap, and now turn on the reactor. Before then, I'll say this one final time. Do not plug your nuclear reactor directly into your MFSU. Do not plug your nuclear reactor directly into your mass fabricator. They will explode, and they will explode big. Now craft some empty cells and combine them with your refined uranium ingots. And for the reactor setup we'll be using, we'll only need 8 for now. As a test, I'll set the thermometer to signal at 1000 heat. Be sure to put in the cooling cells and heat dispersers first. With this particular pattern, your reactor shouldn't come close to exploding ever. It won't give you the most insane output, but it's still probably the best option you've got. And look at that, we've already got 1 UU matter. Use a lever on the fabricator side to turn it off. Next you'll need to feed scrap into the mass fabricator. If you're smarter than me, you would have stored your scrap next to the machine instead of 2 floors above. The input pipe for the mass fabricator needs to go into the bottom, otherwise it will insert scrap into the top, which is the output. Also, I kinda forgot about this before, but you can infuse pneumatic tubes with redstone and then connect them with these jacketed cables so you don't have to wire each transposer separately. And look at that, automation really is the best. Before we turn it on for good, let's craft an alchemic chest to store UU matter. We'll pipe it up through here. And let's get this thing on. Ah, what a great sound. Run that current up to the transposer and presto. We've created matter out of electricity. Electricity that's made out of nuclear energy, which is itself energy made from turning matter into energy. Really makes you think, huh? Ah, Jesus. Man, I'm glad to know the heat signal works, but that about gave me a heart attack. In actuality, you should keep this thing at about 6000 degrees, a temperature it should never hit, hopefully. Now, what is this UU matter stuff actually used for? In theory, it can be crafted into a plethora of vanilla items like diamonds, cocoa beans, glowstone, but the condenser can create all those things much more easily. You can also use it to just straight up craft water and lava source blocks. Realistically though, the only item you can't produce without UU matter is iridium ore. By sheer coincidence, iridium ore is used to craft the best armor in the game, quantum armor. It'll be a few minutes before we have enough UU matter to craft a full set, but keep that in the back of your mind. In the meantime, I'd better bury this block of reinforced stone before the feds or HOA find out what I'm up to. Perfect. In my original plans for the house, I wanted a garage with a functioning garage door, and for that I'll need this, a frame mover. Like everything else in Red Power, frame movers are a better version of a vanilla redstone component. In this case, it's pistons. Frame movers can move up to 256 blocks at once, while the paltry piston can only move 16. Compared to pistons, however, they are much more of a pain to craft. You first need to saw a diamond block in the quarters, so that you can make a tool to craft wires. You'll also need to chop up an iron block. Fortunately, you'll only ever need to make one of these draw plates. When you craft something with it, it takes damage rather than being completely consumed, and you can heal it with the Talisman of Repair. First you need to craft these fine copper wires, which you combine with iron bars to make a different type of wire, and then you can craft the motors. Combine it with some blue alloy, brass, and iron, and you'll have yourself one frame motor. I'll need to make 8 more. Unfortunately, these frame movers do require electricity to operate, but all you've got to do is wire in a couple of solar panels to a battery box. They can take a while to charge up, but once they have enough power, they'll move your frames. Now for actually building the garage itself. I want something durable but lightweight, like this construction foam stuff. It's basically concrete, but instead of like soupy liquid, it's a foam that hardens into rock. I'll make this construction foam sprayer so I can apply the foam to a large area all at once. To make the foam, we'll macerate a bunch of clay blocks, combine the clay dust with redstone, coal dust, and water, compress some of that foam into pellets, then load the sprayer. Before I can completely start construction of the garage, I'll need to dig out the foundations. I could, like usual, just use the diamond drill, but that thing runs out of charge way too fast. If only there was... I've already used this setup before. There is a thing. It's the red morning star. Basically, this is the ultimate digging tool. It can mine both dirt and stone about as fast as you'd ever need it to. It can also do this. Be careful though. If you accidentally misclick around chests or machines, it'll destroy them all. Like every other tool in the equivalent exchange mod, you can change the mode of the tool by pressing G. Again, be careful using this. Alright, let's get spraying. Well, that's not quite... That one wasn't too bad. I'll build the floor from concrete so that the entire garage isn't made of this gross foam. And look at that, a bit's already dried. It's not the best looking, but it'll do. And I'm out of foam. I could spray the rest of the roof, but that sounds like a massive pain. While a lot of this dries, I'll make more parts for foam, and I'll get started on something that I've put off long enough. That thing being creating matter out of literally nothing. Well, I guess it uses sunlight energy, but still, it kinda feels like cheating with how easy these are. First you make this energy collector, and then you need to craft an antimatter relay. I'll go ahead and upgrade them to the max level because I've already made plenty of dark and red matter using the blaze machine. Don't get me wrong, these are still expensive to duplicate in the condenser. The way you set these up is pretty easy. Basically, you want to surround each face of the condenser with an antimatter relay, then surround each face of those relays with a collector. And we'll just make the rest of this big giant cheat machine using the infinite power of the sun. Alright, the garage's main structure should be dry by now, let's build the rest. I'd say this whole thing looks alright. It'll look a lot better with a proper garage door though. Of course, if I want the garage door to be more than an overpriced wall, I'll need something to open and close it. A computer built using cables, red wafers, a block of diamond, and wood. A central processing unit. Because it's an old computer, I'll also need to add on a disk drive. And it needs a monitor as well. Because it's old, it only supports green text, of course. For our purposes though, the most important piece for this computer is the I/O expander. Using this device, you can have the computer turn on and off redstone signals. Basically, we'll need a computer program that will send a redstone signal to the frame movers to either open or close the garage door. So how do we do that? First we'll need a floppy disk made out of, you guessed it, wood. Then we'll spill a bit of redstone on it, which teaches the disk 4th programming language. Then I'll spill redstone on my brain so I can learn 4th. Next I'll build the basic frame structure for the garage door. I will install the downward frame movers in this little area I've dug beneath the garage. Put the upward ones on the other side and screwdriver them into the correct position. Of course, in my hubris, I ballsed the whole thing up and forgot to put iron covers on the outer faces of these mover frames, meaning they'll try and drag the entire house instead of just the garage door. Anyways, that's not too tough to fix. Just put the covers on the outer faces of the frames. Alright, let's test these puppies out. No way! After just a bit of fiddling, like removing the center iron block, I've gotten the garage door to fully descend. Now I'll just wire in the ascension feature, and we've got it. Now automating this thing should be a piece of cake. First I'll repair the door so it doesn't just have a hole in the middle. Fixing it this way makes it look like there's an H on the door. We'll say it stands for home. Now for the easy part, programming a computer inside of a computer. After putting up the CPU, attach it to the I/O expander using ribbon cable. Next you attach the bundled cable, which will carry a redstone signal. Now, attached to the bundled cable, you put two differently colored red alloy cables. Finally, it's time to use the computer. Insert the fourth boot disk and turn that thing on. Now I won't go into detail on every single one of these commands, mostly because I have not a damn clue of what any of them do. For our purposes, we really only need one command, the numeral 1, followed by capital IOX, then exclamation point. The number that you use for the numeral before the IOX command determine which color wire is activated. In our case, 1 IOX exclamation point activates the white wire. 0 IOX turns off all wires. 4 IOX turns on the magenta wire. 5 IOX turns them both on, but we won't really be using this feature. And of course, 0 IOX turns them all off. If this all sounds a little complicated, that's because it is. But once you've messed around with it a bit, it starts to click for you. Now, all I've got to do is wire the up and down frame movers to the differently colored wires. I'll use magenta for up and white for down. Now I can use the computer to raise or lower the garage one block at a time. If I want it to open and close the entire way, I need to compile two separate programs. I'll spare most of the technical details, but my code is on screen. Basically, what this long chain of letters does is make my white wire flash 4 times over the course of about 4 seconds. The syntax on the computer is a bit confusing, but after a few tries, I managed to save the open program to a floppy disk. And what do you know? The program actually works. I basically made the same exact program for closing the door, and saved it to another floppy disk. And insanely enough, both programs managed to work. Surely coding another program that joins the two together won't drive me into a mental asylum. But enough of that nerd shit. Let's upgrade our cheat machine. And craft some iridium. And maybe craft a bunch of circuits for a high voltage solar array. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I'll only need to make 8 stacks of solar panels for one array. Ah, Jesus. I forgot the transformer. There is actually a way to put a transformer directly into the machine. I'll show you. Should keep machines from blowing up at medium voltages. There. Now don't interrupt my crafting again. That right there, that's 8 stacks of generators. You'd think that's the hardest part, but no. Don't forget, each solar panel requires 2 circuit boards each. Each circuit board requires 6 copper cables each. That's 96 total stacks of copper cables, plus however the hell many I've already used. Holy God. Moment of truth, guys. Ah, wow. It doesn't even feel real anymore. I'll still need 64 low voltage transformers, but that's basically nothing at this point. Bang. 64 low voltage arrays. 8 medium voltage. And at long last, a high voltage solar array. That's gotta be one of the more intense crafting sessions in my entire life. Instead of plugging this into the main grid, I'll plug it into the MFSU to help out the mass fabricator. And I've solved global warming. This thing, believe it or not, puts out the same amount of electricity as 8 stacks of solar panels, 512 electrical units. Over here, the beta solar panels put out around a fifth of that. Even the nuclear reactor can't stand up to the HV solar array. It was about 1,000 times easier to set up though. Well, that was a lot of fun, but it's back to the garage for me. I know that I already have open and close programmed in, but what I really need is a way for the computer to switch between running open and close after receiving just one signal. There were a few ways I thought of to do this, but I'll go ahead and spoil it for you, none of them worked. At least, not using the computer. My plan was to hook up this redstone toggle latch to a wireless redstone receiver. You press this wireless remote and the redstone current switches sides. At this point, I realized that using the souped up red power logic component would be much easier than using a computer. I mean, after all, what the hell kind of garage door needs a computer program so it can open? But I was foolish. Arrogant. No matter how stupid of an idea it was, I needed to use this computer within a computer just to open my garage. I built some ridiculous contraption designed to send the computer a pulse for only an instant, and to be fair, it did actually work. And so, in the damp humid crawl space beneath my garage, I connected this circuit to my computer. and for a while there, it seemed like it might actually work. That was until I got onto the computer. I wrote a simple program. If it didn't work, I could always just debug it, right? But the instant I told this computer to run Garage, it was cooked. The in-game computer had just completely crashed. I couldn't even input a single command, so I just reset it. Since I didn't have Garage saved to a disk, I'd just have to remake the program. This time I named the program Door, but it was basically the same. However, once again the computer just completely crashed upon running Door. Fortunately, it still remembered how to do open and close. I tried installing more RAM for the CPU, and sure enough, when I told it to do Door, the door raised one block. Huh? When I looked back at the computer, it was doing its whole hang-up thing where I can't input anything. No matter, I'll just reset it, right? What in God's name is happening? It won't reset, it won't halt, it won't restart. I went back beneath the garage and both of the wires were on. At this point, I realized my mistake. My code didn't properly specify the IOX at value. But it doesn't matter now because the computer's completely fucked. Well, only one thing left to do. I'll have a fresh start, write new, better code, and it'll all be great. And it doesn't work. No, wait a minute, I just have to reinstall the fourth language. So I went back into the crawl space so I could scream my head off in peace. When I emerged once again, I tried fully resetting the computer one last time. I reinserted the fourth boot disk, selected disk 1, reset the computer, and completely gave up the second I had the code again. I'd already figured out how to make the garage door opener with just red power logic, so it wasn't worth using the computer anymore. Long story made very short. I made this circuit out of repeaters and buffer gates. It flashes 4 times whenever it's activated. I rebuilt this circuit beneath the garage, and after an ungodly amount of fiddling with the repeater's timing, I finally got half of this thing working. Next, I simply mirrored the circuit and I think I might cry. Sure, it's not the fastest to open and close, but have you ever seen a garage door that doesn't look like it's about to explode whenever it opens? Plonk some stairs down and my dream home is complete. Ah, what a long, hard day at the glue factory. I'm flying home with my magic ring to my house in the swamp jungle volcano. Just a normal day for a guy like me. I love opening my garage with this remote, walking inside, kicking off my shoes, and closing the door with the same remote. It's such a great day to live in my very own dream home. Or, that's what I would say. See, my house has been repossessed, wrongfully, I might add. Someone sued me, claiming to be the rightful landowner. Their name is Gene, I think? Anyways, they're charging me with, well, take a look. Safe to say, the charges are all false, but while my guy gets these things sorted out, I need to ensure my own personal protection. That's right, it's time to finally put this iridium to use. Better make some more first, just in case. First thing, and really the only thing that's much trouble, are these iridium plates. I'll just make a bunch and hope it's good enough. Next, I've got to combine 2 pairs of rubber shoes with my carbon fiber shoes. I guess that's what makes them quantum. They're carbon fiber and rubber at the same time. Then we have the quantum pants, quantum shirt, and last but not least, quantum helmet. These things will only charge in the MFSU too, so don't piss away all your electricity into UU matter. Alright boys, say goodbye to things like death, illness, hunger, taxes, drowning. All of those things become trivial annoyances when wearing quantum armor. Oh yeah, we're back in business. Now take a look at this. You see that? I know I'm a spry athletic guy, but it's actually the armor that's making me run so fast and jump so high. Like Superman, I can jump 1/8 of a quarter mile in just one bound. I can probably also run as fast as an express locomotive, but railcraft is boring. Let's go pay Gene a visit. There's one last thing I want to craft, just because it'd be cool. The Abyssal Helmet. Surely it won't take forever, right? Spoiler, it did. For the Abyssal Helmet, you need the highest tier of Kleinstar, Kleinstar Omega. In and of itself, the Kleinstar Omega doesn't cost too much to make. I mean, it's still 48 stacks of diamond, which is a lot, but compared to charging this thing up, it's just a drop in the bucket. To charge the Kleinstar Omega to max, you will need over 97 stacks of diamonds. That's not including all the stacks you just put in to make the damn thing. In total, you'll need 145 stacks of diamonds to make and charge the Kleinstar Omega. Even with the Blaze Machine, that's just an ungodly number. I could make another one, but I don't want to give Gene any more reasons to bother me. I think, even if I dug out an entire chunk and burned all of the resources, it wouldn't put a dent in that meter. I mean, I might as well test it, not like I have anything better to do. Let's turn this off. The Gem of Eternal Density. It should automatically condense dirt and cobble into high value items, and 1 dark matter from that giant pit. And let's see how much red matter all that digging got us. Not 2 stacks, which would be a significant amount. Nah, just 2. Other than to make this armor, what the hell would you need a Kleinstar with this much energy for? Even crafting a full set of Omega level armor isn't all that good. The armor doesn't completely negate damage, it only reduces it by like 95%. But will any of these realities lead me to give up on crafting this helmet? No, of course not. I'm going insane. Well, There's not much more I can do but build another of these and use it to produce red matter. In the meantime, I might as well refine some oil in the fuel. Fuel that we will put to very good use once Jean is taken care of. Until now, I haven't bothered with oil, and that's because it only spawns in these tiny little dribbles. Instead of bothering to find any, I'll make an oil fabricator, which is just a mass fabricator that turns electricity into oil. Perfect. Infinite oil. Now let's see if refining a bunch of oil is faster or slower than making an Omega level Klein star. That answers that. And I've got a bit of change too. Now, to make the helmet. Oh, and look at that, it even gives you the water amulet back. How kind. Now why did I waste days of my life crafting this thing? For this. Yeah, the novelty wears off pretty quick. Oh well, at least the refinery's still going good. Son of a bitch. I swear to God, Jean is responsible for all of this. Everything bad that's ever happened to me in my entire life. It's all Jean's fault. But it just won't work. I'll make the greatest oil refinery anyone's ever seen. Just watch me. Don't worry about all this stuff. It's just for, aesthetics. Oh God, not again. Good luck blowing up this monstrosity. Man, look at that. I could watch this all day. I could watch something else though. And there is another computer mod in Tekkit. It uses Lua programming language instead of Forth, so the only thing I know how to do is this. Once the movie's over, Jean gets it. Oh look, my favorite part. This is insane. Jean's power has gone beyond nature, beyond the game. Even my computer's CPU isn't safe. I've put it off long enough. That's 'cause I consider myself a man of peace. But this is far too far. My weapons are ready. I'll wait for the cover of night. Even though these eyes are phony, made in the condenser, they still show the truth. The truth that Jean can't keep getting away with this. Alright, I've found Jean's basement. Geez, guess I won't have much trouble finding the portal room. Jean, you really should have expected this. You mess with the bull, you get the horns. That's how it is, that's how it always will be. Even so, I don't feel right about this. How can I claim to be some kind of badass if I fight using impenetrable armor and an overpowered sword? To make things fair, I'll give up my quantum armor, use this crappy electric jetpack, and fight with my secondary weapons. I'm still gonna use the lightning helmet though. I'll see you soon, Jean. Ow! That was incredibly weak. What's wrong, Jean? You hit like an underdeveloped, rushed boss monster. Damn, these are hard to hit. The jetpack won't let me fly above 80 blocks or so, and I didn't bring extra blocks to build with. The musket has better range than snowballs, but muskets aren't exactly renowned for accuracy. Just gotta get these. God, Jesus. Come on, just let me up, damn it. How about that? That's right, Gene. Not even Jesus can save you now. Alright, it's time to face my ultimate power. Huh? Is that a massive waste of time I smell? I mean my true ultimate power. This gun. What do you know? My guy just got back to me. All the charges are dropped. It's so nice to wake up in the morning and know that your house won't be repossessed by landlords, or the government, or mafia bosses, or dragons. Really, it's quite the feeling. And you know what I'm gonna do first as the sole owner of this land? Bulldoze the volcano. So, final thoughts. I'll let him rip off the cuff here. It's always interesting to go back to these older mod packs that were made before really what a mod pack was solidified. A lot of times now, mod packs try to be something like Vanilla Plus. But with Tekkit, it almost felt like Vanilla Minus, with most of the quality of life features being absent from this version of the game, or from the lack of decorative blocks. Even still, the simplicity was quite enjoyable, and there are a lot of things in Tekkit, like most of the red power logic components, and even the stupid computer that I hate, don't really have analogous comparisons in modern mod packs. Industrial Craft and Buildcraft kinda seem like precursors to Mechanism a bit, but Red Power, man, it really did stand out as being completely unique, and I did enjoy my time with it a lot. There is of course also Equivalent Exchange, which more or less turns the game into Survival Mode Plus. I mean, it is basically cheating, and I get why there's not really much of an analogous sort of thing in modern mod packs. For instance, if you need a bunch of sand, you won't go to the desert, you'll just duplicate it in the condenser. It takes away the gathering aspect of the game, and that's not really all that fun, but I mean, with Tekkit in particular, it would just be impossible to craft half the things if you weren't using Equivalent Exchange. The quarries are a bit slow, and they don't really get all of the materials while, just digging up a bunch of crap that you don't need, which is good for the recycler, but it's no good for actually crafting things. It also can lag your game a lot if you have a weaker computer. The lack of a universal electricity system is really weird as well. You have to use the energy link to convert Buildcraft power to Industrial Craft power, and there's really no reason to use anything other than Industrial Craft, because the other ones don't generate enough power, or they're more dangerous, or just more finicky in general. And that's probably my biggest complaint with this mod pack, is that it's really just pretty finicky. It was buggy a lot of the time, and, unbalanced as well. Sometimes I would try and, use the sorting machine and it just wouldn't work for whatever reason. A lot of things are reliant on redstone components that can lag your game as well. I mean, hell, making something like the garage, I could probably do that in vanilla in a couple of hours nowadays. But in this mod pack it just took me hours and hours to do because of how sort of, obscure everything was. Not to say it's a bad thing, it's interesting to have a mod pack that's more, or less user-friendly in this case. Still, coming back to this mod pack was a lot of fun. Like I mentioned before, most of these mods are discontinued without any sort of analogous modern mod. Ultimately, I think the lack of, things to do like other dimensions, boss monsters, new mobs, new biomes, basically anything that would bring someone back over and over and over again to a modern mod pack, they're not present in Tekkit, and I think that makes it more like vanilla Minecraft itself, in that you have to create your own fun almost. It can get a bit boring at times and definitely tedious, but I mean, ultimately that is what this game is about. I have a lot of good memories with this mod pack, but I'm not one to get nostalgic, so I won't. It's good, you should revisit Tekkit if you like, and I think there is actually a newer version of it. Maybe it's not official, who knows, but it is, up to date with the current-ish version of Minecraft. Anyways, thanks for listening to me ramble, and thanks for watching the whole video. If there are any other mod packs you want me to check out, let me know in the comments. And if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day and stay safe out there. At least it waited until I was done.